You know what we are. We are Squawking Dead. It's been more than a month since our last podcast, and we're our 8th and final week of giveaways. This week, we're giving away the opportunity to get shoutouts from 2 cast members. The list of cast members can be found on squawkingdead.com, and you can enter straight from the website. I wish you guys the best of luck. We've got a few entries. Some of you dragging your feet. You guys wait until the last 24 hours for me to post that final giveaway video. But either way, do it. You won't regret it. It's going to cost me a lot of money, so, somebody's going to be lucky. Hopefully, some of the people that have been contacting me to help. This week is going to be an interesting one, just in respect with the news. I don't have much for you, but hopefully we can get a rolling dialogue going and see what shakes loose. Yeah, a funny thing about the giveaways is that my last name is Cameo, and I was trying to find out whether or not that domain name was taken. And so, lo and behold, it's like a site where a whole bunch of talents can actually sign up, and they can give you like little shout outs, or you can gift them to other people. Funny enough, I was at a bachelor party less than a month ago, and I think one of the bachelor party friends signed up for a football player to actually help out and send the bachelor Josh a shout out in this like compilation video. And it was kind of cool. The little Cameo logo on the bottom. Okay, so business checked off. Now for the pleasure. So I've got a couple articles that I'm not going to read because that's freaking boring, but just wanted to clue you guys into some news that you guys may have missed. I know I did over the course of a month and a few days, and wanted to see what your guys' take, not the honest take, but your take was on it. What I'm going to be doing with the Instagram video is I'm going to let that go for the hour, and at a certain point it's going to stop. When it stops, just head on over to youtube.com/squawkingdead, one word, or facebook.com/squawkingdead. You can get there either way. So if it does cut out, just head on over there. You'll just pick up where you left off. You can even chat there. I've got the chat open right now. Nobody's on there. Yeah, so yeah, you can do that. It's up to you. All right, so among the most in-demand series in the world, the top 2 are Stranger Things and The Walking Dead. And this is according to Deadline, your most trusted entertainment news, according to my friend Matt, who is currently out of work, but is in the biz. And actually, if you guys want to chat with me, you might want to go there now to Facebook and YouTube. But the first annual Global TV Demand Awards announces TWD and Stranger Things, the most in-demand series in the world in 2018. I'm so rusty. Josh McDermott, Pollyanna McIntosh, and Denise Huth, producer, accepted the award. Parrot Analytics is the company that did the data analytics on the global show phenomena that is The Walking Dead, and I think that's a pretty big deal. I mean, it doesn't hurt that Game of Thrones has been out for like the past 700 years. So, and I think I've noticed the fact that it's never been more prevalent that The Walking Dead it would take that spot, because when AMC Premiere went live on last Sunday with the early release of episode 9 for AMC Premiere customers, a whole bunch of worldwide audiences were able to get a hold of that actual show. Because I was seeing international accounts posting like clips from the episode. Like I saw some people actually live streaming the episode, like the downloaded episode, and showing it on their crappy television set. Okay, it wasn't that crappy, but like the camera that they were using was like diagonal, and you could see the glare from the LCD television, like the cheap $200 40-inch LCD television or something. And it was just wonky, and it's like, why would you do that to people? I'm really rusty because I can't handle like 3 of me on 2 screens. But I guess because I'm used to doing it via audio, and I'm not used to seeing myself on a screen in 3 places. And laggy too. But yeah, so it's just interesting because you'd have like Instagram accounts basically. I mean, you scroll down your feed, you can't avoid it. Oh, you see a video. Well, what is the video? And it's like, oh, it's episode 9. Scroll up. What I've been like going out of my way and doing, because I'm just like that kind of person, is that, I mean, I kindly tell the people like, hey, if you want to post clips from the show, might be a good idea to just put like an image on the first slide, just saying spoiler, and then giving the people the option to slide for the clip, you know, and it's like, it's not that hard. If you're savvy enough to get like a screen cap of the actual show, I mean, it's not that difficult to actually put up an image and then just put up another slide with the video clip and stuff like that. So, you know, it's not a technical thing. It's kind of like a consideration thing. And I know it sounds like I'm whining, but and this is just a personal thing. I don't mind that people put up clips at all. Like, I mean, on a personal, like, ethical level kind of thing, it kind of bothers me, but at the same time, I'm more of like I'm a liberal. Like, I tolerate things. So it's kind of like, do what you want. Just don't do it in front of people's faces and stuff like that. So, you know, try to respect other people. And I'll even respect the fact they don't respect other people, but whatever. But yeah, what do you guys think about The Walking Dead being the most downloaded television show around the world? It's kind of amazing when you think about it. Like 9 years later, 9.5 years later, this show's going on really strong. And people, you know, and it's amazing when you see people online, you know, every time you look at an article on Twitter, let's say, and I don't know why people still use Twitter, but like, apparently we do. You see basically people going, hey, is this show still on? And it's like, you're obviously commenting on the article for some reason, so I mean, figure it out. But then when you hear it's like the most globally downloaded television show, you know, outside of Game of Thrones, which hasn't been on for 700 years, it's kind of amazing to see that level of fandom is still alive. And I would even venture a guess that it's like a very consolidated, I mean, because The Walking Dead, I mean, if there are enough people that are saying, is this show still on? Why is this show still on? It kind of means that like the fandom has like consolidated into this brick, this like dense brick of fandom, like this loyalty. And you see that around the world. You see that a lot in South America and Spain, basically Spanish speaking countries now that I think about it, and the Philippines. And this huge fandom in Turkey, I'm finding out too. But yeah, it's everywhere, and they're not loud, which is kind of nice when you think about it. But anyway, so that's that for Deadline. But I just think that this is pretty cool, like this global TV. See, instead of like it being like the Academy Awards where the judges are like in the United States, and you know, it's not really like a worldwide film kind of audience. This is like analytics across the world. This is like a global kind of, you know, what TV is a global phenomenon. Like, I'm sure if they did like an international music awards, there'd be like a lot of Korean pop stars that would get the awards. So how about that? So just to let everybody know who hasn't heard me speak for the last 15 minutes, yeah, I didn't have my mic on in Facebook and YouTube. Very professional. So just so a lot of people know, Denai Guerrera is kind of a saint. She started a school called Almasi Arts for girls. And a fan basically last year, Walker Stalker, I think either 2018 or 2017, had heard about it. And prior to that, she set up a GoFundMe. And what she did was the fandom basically kind of took it and ran, and now it's kind of like an annual thing for Almasi Arts. But on top of that, she does another charity that I just don't remember, but she started a new charity called Her Justice. And what that charity does is provides family, divorce, and immigration legal law assistance to low-income women. So she just started that. So if you want to check that out, I'm going to put a link in the description when this video is over. But if you want to get to it, credit to Undead Walking. I think Sonia Arena, who is amazing, by the way. Like, she's everywhere, and she's kind of cool. It's got a little of the goth stripe. A lot of images of beautiful women in corsets and black makeup. I'm not saying anything against that. There's a part of me that's into that. I am married, but there's a part of me that's into that. It's just check it out. I mean, if this is something that if you're interested in giving to women who are at a disadvantage, women who have cultural obstacles, women who have financial obstacles, it helps women it levels the playing field. It gives them, it basically enables them to be able to take, responsibility with all the tools that the United States has available to them. So, why don't you check it out? It's called Her Justice again. And, and again, I'll leave a link in in the description somewhere in the episode notes after the stream is done. Think about checking that out. I also retweeted it, I think sometime either today or yesterday in prep for this show. But yeah, and hey, if you have any comments or questions, put them in the chat. Yeah, okay. This is an interesting one. My notes are kind of all over the place, but I'm kind of glad that this one came up. So the headline reads, "Zombie apocalypse is a bipartisan issue on TVs across the US at least." There's a research firm that does a lot of, the research firm is called ePoll Market Research, and they wanted to see where, they often do cross analytic data. So they kind of take like a poll of who, where do you lean politically? Are you a Democrat or Republican? And then they determine what makes a Democrat and Republican. And then they take a whole list of other questions and data, just across different data sets like television viewing behaviors, movies. Did you like this? Did you like that? How would you rank this movie against that movie? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so what they decided to do was they decided to see where the Walking Dead fans lie on the political spectrum among like a whole bunch of other television shows. And after noticing like basically a stark pull on many different, like, let's say comedies versus dramas, the one television show that actually was the most politically diverse amongst Republicans and Democrats rather than politically polar is The Walking Dead. And when you like listen to Talking Dead and you go to the cons and you speak to people on Instagram and you interact with people like in the fandom and stuff like that, you start to notice that you are interacting with a lot of people from all over the country, from California to the Midwest to the South to the Southwest to the Northeast, which is where I'm from. And they have a stark political diversity. I mean, it's not that you can tell, like when you go to their accounts, there's this one dude that's like, I mean, and it's strange because like, there's this one dude who is kind of like liberal, but he's also kind of like into meme culture. And so sometimes he'll dip into like, favoring certain right-wing opinions because it's just like, when truth is out there and it happens to be a right-wing source, the truth is the truth. So, you kind of go with that. And he's kind of like not all over the map, but he's kind of like, it kind of goes back and forth like in political leanings. And I'm kind of like that, but I'm not really a political fanatic or anything like that. I'm kind of more of like a liberal, libertarian, center left kind of person. But then you start to notice that like, you have some Walking Dead fans that are Trump supporters, and you have some that are, just farm variety conservatives and libertarians and, crypto anarchists or anarcho-capitalists, and the political space, and then like just unaffiliated, like, I couldn't care what politics are, like as if that exists anymore, but it does, at least in the Walking Dead universe. And like some people just don't care about politics still, which kind of amazes me when you think about it, how pervasive it is. But like for example, as far as the Walking Dead goes, the only other shows that come close to like some sort of political diversity is like This Is Us, like intense drama that everybody can relate to. Stranger Things, which is kind of like that nostalgia kind of vibe that people from all walks of life can kind of get into. These are the most politically diverse television shows. And these three shows are among the top 5 among Democrats and Republicans in the United States. Fear the Walking Dead lands in the top 20 of politically diverse shows that Republicans and Democrats value equally. Weirdly enough, Game of Thrones, a definite global phenomena, is absent in this list, and as absent this politically diverse list, and ranks highly among, oddly enough, Democrats, not Republicans. So it just goes to show that it kind of makes sense that The Walking Dead is kind of like this global most downloaded television show in 2018, winner of the Global Television Awards or whatever the fucking award is. But yeah, what do you guys think about that? Chat, if you're there, do it. You won't regret it. You will, maybe. I don't know. I might say something completely inappropriate. But yeah, next up on the list is Nick and Norman. Greg Nicotero and Norman Reedus are going to be on Talking Dead. The dynamic duo themselves. If they bring burgers on the show from their restaurant, I'll be so hungry and I'll just probably eat something. But it's kind of great to see Daryl on the couch again, on the Talking Dead couch. I feel like it's been forever. I mean, it's been forever because of the mid-season premiere. The mid-season break. But I mean, just to have them both on the couch too, and like, I mean, they're both kind of really nice guys, and they open up and everything. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of. Oh yeah, and just so you know, the order of the shows that are going to be airing that night you're going to have The Walking Dead. Then you're going to have Ride with Norman Reedus. So, and The Walking Dead is actually going to be an hour and 15 minutes of airtime. So it's going to be done by 10:14 Eastern time, if it starts at 9 o'clock. Then you have Ride with Norman Reedus, and then you're going to have Talking Dead. So if you're on the East Coast, you're going to be up until probably like 11:15, 11:30. So get a little disco nap during the day. You've got to be kidding me. Surprise, surprise, The Walking Dead has been renewed for a 10th season. I mean, we kind of all knew that. We knew that would happen. But it's officially confirmed. You had Angela Kang posting that little Whispers clip sometime during the week this week. And we all kind of knew it. Walking Dead officially renewed for season 10. Amazing. Just simply amazing. And I think what The Walking Dead is actually kind of doing this go around is that I've been seeing television ads just before, during, and then after the Super Bowl. So they're going to be airing those all week across all different networks. I've been seeing Instagram ads. I've been seeing Facebook ads for The Walking Dead season 9B. So I mean, they're doing it right. I mean, it's pervasive. It's everywhere. I've seen it to the point where, well, first of all, my wife is terrified, or like not terrified, but she's kind of grossed out by it, by the alpha mask commercial. It comes up often, so it's one of those things. It's kind of like those Geico commercials. And every time it comes on, I do like this little dance, like whisper, whisper, and every time it annoys my wife. So yeah, I mean, it's pervasive. It's they're doing the right thing. Their media team is kind of odd. Okay, like their online strategy in terms of like advertisements, great. You go to their Twitter account, the AMC one. Yeah, you go to the AMC one, and even the Skybound one, and like it's like the Wendy's one. Well, let's start with the AMC one, okay? The AMC one has been making so many mistakes, from hashtag Ikikil to putting the wrong group banners like with the text that's underneath. So like they'll say, "What do you think of Hilltop?" and the banner's like for Alexandria, or sorry, "What do you are you with the Kingdom?" and then they'll put the Hilltop banner. So and I don't know if it's like just like genius. Do you know what I mean? Like if they're like doing it on purpose. And that hashtag Ikikil was the funniest thing. I still use hashtag Ikikil in some, like, whenever there's a mistake or whenever there's like just something absolutely hilarious. But yeah, I mean, and then you go to the Skybound, the Walking Dead account. So the comic book run, the Walking Dead account, and they're like just random. What you should do is go to their Twitter account and then go to where you see not only the posts that they make, but you see the replies. It's hilarious. They're responding to people, they're retweeting people, and they just recently trolled the Game of Thrones account a couple times. We mentioned it, I think, the last time, so like a month ago, but they also trolled like Batman and Superman. And I actually read this, and I wasn't going to read this online, and I'm still not going to, but like they said, "Who do you choose if it's Batman or Superman?" And then the Walking Dead account just retweeted it and said Martha, because they both have Superman, Clark Kent, and Batman, Bruce Wayne, they both have mothers named Martha. And it's kind of like a little troll on the Batman v Superman movie, which kind of didn't do very well. So I mean, and they do things like that. They're like, and they even like retweeted the Wendy's account for some reason. It's just hilarious. Like, so just do that. I mean, don't do it now. But I mean, well, you could do it now. You could listen to the show and just do whatever you want. It's a free country. I mean, unless you're listening from China, in which case, thanks. AMC. So regarding this season 10 reveal of The Walking Dead, the AMC CEO emphasizes that TWD will be a franchise, which he doesn't throw around lightly. I mean, it's going to be the movies. There are going to be other spin-off series. I'm sure they're going to be doing like a web series of some kind, and I don't know, maybe they'll try their hand at another game. So in other news, Robert Kirkman, comic book creator, he's been doing a lot of things. He has another comic called Invincible. And he's put together the voice cast for the animated series that they're rolling out on Amazon Prime in 2020. And among them is Stephen Yeun, who plays Glenn Rhee. He's actually going to be voicing the voice of the protagonist. And J.K. Simmons is going to be playing the protagonist's father in the animated series. J.K. Simmons, if you don't remember, played J. Jonah Jameson in the original Spider-Man movie. With, I was gonna say like Tobey Maguire. Like, that would be interesting. I would pay to see Tobey Keith play Spider-Man. Well, like for 5 minutes. I mean, I don't know how to manage money. So, but essentially that would be hilarious. But Tobey Maguire. So he played the J. Jonah Jameson, I was gonna say Daily Planet, the Daily Bugle, editor. So he's going to be playing the father of Stephen Yeun in the animated series for Invincible, along with like Gillian Jacobs from Community. If you remember her, she played Britta on the television show. So there's like a whole host of really funny. Oh, Jason Mantzoukas, who's like on Big Mouth right now. That another animated series. He was on The League. He's hilarious. He's actually on The Good Place too, if you've ever seen it. So yeah, I mean, like, I think it's going to be a pretty great, stellar cast. It's more geared towards adults. It's not really like a kids animated series. I mean, otherwise they'd call it a cartoon. So, actually, I don't know, what do they call a cartoon these days anyway? I mean, everything is like the animated series. So, which kind of like, oh, that's validating. Sure. And speaking of validating, holy crap, if you missed this, I wouldn't blame you, because it was kind of buried in mostly the Twitter zeitgeist, but the SAG Awards, when they did their in memoriam tribute for all the actors that passed away for the year, they got to a clip of Steven Wilson, and or Scott, sorry, they got to a clip of Scott Wilson. And the clip is actually from The Walking Dead. And I had 2 comments on that, and I actually mentioned this on Twitter, is like, the fact that they chose to honor Scott Wilson with a clip from The Walking Dead does 2 things. Number one, it validates Scott Wilson's acting prowess. I mean, he's a terrific actor, being in television and movies for the last, like, I want to say about 50, maybe almost 60 years. It shows that he was a terrific actor all the way until the very end. And second of all, it validates The Walking Dead as a television series too. If you're really going to show a clip of if you're going to choose a clip, you're going to choose it strategically, because you're going to choose the clip that people know you the most from. And so like choosing The Walking Dead as its quintessential role, that's the most recognizable, that's the most popular, the one that's going to pop. Yeah, I mean, it's very validating. I mean, it really validates The Walking Dead, for all the people that had comments about, not watching the show anymore, or, making fun of us. I mean, we are Squawking Dead. I mean, come on. But yeah, it's really, really validating. When I was watching it, it was kind of like, well, of course it's a scene from The Walking Dead. It's when they're in the prison and talking about, basically making a life and moving forward here, etc. I mean, it's terrific. And it kind of says a lot, like the scene itself says a lot about, who we are, and, as watchers too, and then how hopefully we are in real life. So if you did miss it, I'm sure if you scroll down on our Twitter feed, that's squawking_dead, I'm sure you'll find it buried in giveaway alerts for that week. I think I did tweet it out 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago by now. So yeah, this is pretty big news. This is news that affected Squawking Dead recently. You can see my nostrils flare. I have to actually say that for the audio version of the podcast. Overkill's The Walking Dead developer says they knew it was going to tank. Well, no shit. As soon as I read this, you're going to see. So after pulling back their console releases in the pre-order stage, Squawking Dead had to pull back their week 6 prize because all of a sudden the pre-orders are gone. So all that we were able to give away were Steam gifts, basically, of the game, any PC version of the game. And, believe it or not everybody plays games on their PC. I mean, what the hell? So just being serious for a minute, I had not for weeks, I had not panicked about these giveaways, okay? I had things under control. I still felt the pressure, but it's the normal kind of pressure. You know, the kind I actually feel during the day during my normal job. And I actually work my normal job till very late hours. So you can imagine how much time I have to work on Squawking Dead stuff, and I work with just as much vigor, okay? So when Starbreeze even, pulled, the pre-orders, I literally had to take the night off, do the research, try to figure out what I could give away that week, preferably a video game. I would have done anything to kind of get back on track. I just felt really, really bad for the people that entered. I had sent out newsletters, I had sent out emergency newsletter, I sent out social media campaigns saying I had to tell people until further notice, until I figure this out, I have to stop everything, rewind, and then literally stop it. I don't have a solution. I'm sorry. And it was just unnerving. And it took me almost till 3 or 4 hours before I had to get up the next day to figure out what I was going to do. I scheduled those social media posts. I scheduled those mailers. When I finally I didn't even figure it out that night. I had to actually stop at 2, 3 in the morning and say, I had to literally post that message and say, I got to go to sleep. I mean, I said it to myself, but the next day I did the research at night. I stayed up pretty late, and then I finally posted what the prize would be for that week. And so when I finally did that, there was I think that was that Wednesday or even Thursday night. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, the days kind of all mold together when something like this happens, where you're constantly trying to think of, even during the day while you're supposed to be working, what am I going to do? 80 people signed up for this thing so far, and it was just nerve-wracking. And then on top of creating the image, on top of that, I had to create the video advert for Friday night, and then I was having problems with that process. It took 3 hours for Facebook to approve the ad so that it posted on Instagram, and there goes the money. But yeah, I think, and thank you, Eye in the Dark too. Yeah, it did get straightened out. I think there was enough time for people to cop on. I sent out a little message to everybody saying, if you want me to, particularly the people that entered between that little slot where I said, hey, I got to stop I've got to stop doing this, and before I figured out the price, there was 3 or 4 people who had started putting entries in between then and now, and then I messaged them and said, if you want me to remove your entries because of this prize change, let me know. And then I emailed everybody else and saying, if anybody wants to want me to remove their entries, let me know. I'll take it out. I mean, if this is not something that you want, blah, blah, blah. But everybody was really happy with it because, lo and behold, back to the article. So instead of selling several million copies of Overkill's The Walking Dead, they only sold a couple. This sounds like a lot to me, but apparently this is not a lot in the gaming world. They only sold a few 100,000. And Starbreeze developer claims that it was this flawed, polished turd, and a polished turd can't be, you can't fix that. You can polish a turd, but you can't fix it. This is a quote. He called it a polished turd. It was originally built on this in-house platform called Valhalla, which is an unusable platform. It was merely, it really, all it did was basically graphics rendering, and they basically had to redevelop the game from scratch. They started this project, I think, in 2014. And then they had to redo the game from scratch in 2016. You'll notice that they're in the middle of, I think, their second season, basically. And a polished turd. And they're in the middle of their second season. And it's in development hell. So they redeveloped it on Unreal Engine, which I think a lot of games are actually based on. And then not only the development issues, across the span of I think it was 2011 or 2012, the original Overkill got acquired by Starbreeze. The 2 original founders of Overkill eventually stepped away. The first guy cashed out a year later, and then the second guy cashed out recently, within the last year. And then the majority of their Starbreeze's funds were put in VR. So basically what they ended up doing was they put this game in development hell. There's not enough people to work on it. People have been reporting just glitches. The the story sucks. I mean, the story in theory is cool, but like when it comes to execution, you know, it's like when you hear about what a show sounds like, but when you actually watch it, it's just garbage. It's like bad acting or bad dialogue. But the story in theory is good. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, Overkill's The Walking Dead ended up being like more hype than it was substance. So I think people were telling me that at Walker Stalker, because they had this like big trailer bus thing in the convention hall, not in the convention hall, like in the big merchandise area and stuff like that, you know, where you get to meet the stars too of the television shows. And you know, they had this like this big trailer bus thing, and they had like video game screens playing demos, and here's the odd thing: to play the game, I think you had to like go into this like tent. So they didn't show you playing the game or show the person playing the game. They would go in, play the game, and they would walk out, but you wouldn't see what they were playing. They just showed demo reels on the outside. I wonder, so that's like the thing, like that should have been the first warning, but you know, I'm at Walker Stalker, it's like my first one, I like bigger fish to fry in my brain, you know, like interviewing Tom Paine, and obviously you could tell that kind of went awry. If you can't, there's like a hidden video. If you like scroll the list of live videos in the live video playlist, you'll get to it, because I have that buried in an unlisted video. So, but yeah, we all got screwed. Mostly me. So, but yeah, thank you. I did get through it, like you guys said, and we're gonna move on. So here's the interesting thing. Lauren Cohan reveals early talks for a Maggie spinoff series. And this is actually confirmed. It's confirmed that Angela King and Maggie and Lauren Cohan are in talks. So Angela King was in one interview talking about, hey, we did speak to Lauren Cohan. Lauren Cohan is in another interview. Like I read two different articles which confirmed that this was basically happening. And this is even from Fox News. Basically, she says that you know, there may have been some conversations, but everything is so early days ambiguous. We're gonna have to see what happens. And I mean, this is basically on top of an enthusiastic Angela Kang, who was in another interview mentioning this. I read a third article basically saying how the reason why she said it this way, like it's in the very early stages, you know, we'll have to see, is because, you know, Lauren Cohan is in a new show called Whiskey Cavalier, which also, by the way, Noah is in, the character Noah. And they're just basically trying to feel out how that's going and what they're doing and how it's going to shape out. ABC is actually putting a lot of money and capital into this series. So if it takes off, it can still work, the spin-off series, because I think they're planning on actually airing it on the off seasons. Basically, what's going on right now is that you have season 9B that's going to air. Immediately after 9B is Fear the Walking Dead. And then you have this space. Now, it's possible that this space between Fear the Walking Dead's mid-season break and then mid-season return, if you got April, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I mean, there's not enough time to actually develop a spin-off series by the time The Walking Dead airs, because The Walking Dead is going to be airing. Among the news about them coming back on season 10 is that they're going to be airing in October, which means the end of Fear the Walking Dead is going to signal, doing the math. Okay, yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a break between Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead, but I think the mid-season break of season 10 of The Walking Dead is where they could potentially air that Maggie spinoff. So if the stars align just right, Maggie's in Whiskey Cavalier, that she films that, she goes straight onto the Walking Dead set, and magic happens. Magic. I see magic everywhere. I see magic. There's magic here, there's magic there. So that could work. I guess we'll see. I have some interesting drama news. There's a lawsuit. There's been a lawsuit for the last 2 years, I think it is. Now, for those of you who love Fear the Walking Dead, unfortunately, there's a comic writer called Mel Smith who basically sued AMC's Fear the Walking Dead in July for copyright infringement. And they basically sued Fear the Walking Dead, and in particular, they sued also Mel Smith also sued David Alpert, who's a producer on, you know, The Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, but he also manages who does he manage? I'm like jumping around. Either way. So yeah, he's basically suing them for season 2 of Fear the Walking Dead because of the premise of the main group trying to flee from zombies by going on a boat in the Pacific. Now, the reason why this, I know it sounds ridiculous, okay, but hold up. The reason why this sounds ridiculous is exactly how it sounds. Like, oh, wait, you're suing them based on the fact that they flee zombies on a boat? Yeah, essentially, but here's the twist. David Alpert, Mel Smith's agent, he's also the business partner of Robert Kirkman, who was also the comic creator for The Walking Dead, along with being creative input for The Walking Dead television show. And he's a producer on The Walking Dead and executive producer of Fear the Walking Dead. So where things get kind of shady is through David Alpert. Like, so on top of the creative input, on top of managing Mel Smith, he's managing Robert Kirkman, he's executive producer of Fear the Walking Dead, to kind of simplify things. So the additional problem that you have with that is that part of being a producer or executive producer is money. Okay. Now there's a weird thing where when you are getting money from a creative, when you're taking money and then funding and using that money to fund another creative venture, there is a fiduciary responsibility to kind of separate that. So you have to basically try to prove that you're not using funds from, let's say Mel Smith, to fund Fear the Walking Dead. So David Alpert is kind of on the ropes over here and over here, on the left and the right for the audio listeners, because there's a financial aspect to this lawsuit, and there's also a creative aspect to this lawsuit where Mel Smith is basically claiming that, you stole this idea from my comic book. So what happened recently was AMC tried to actually try to dismiss, let me see what the exact words were. They basically tried to dismiss, I didn't even write it down. They tried to basically throw it out, just outright, before arguments. I mean, they tried to actually dismiss the case. But the problem is that they tried to dismiss the case on the grounds of, I think it was, let me see what it was. It was the general principle. So they tried to actually throw it out basically based on general principle. So, but the fact that they used that general principle in court means that the judge said basically, it's kind of early to tell whether it's general or not, because your dude right here, David Alpert, is involved with both clients. So we kind of now have to hear arguments to kind of determine whether or not it's general. You can't just say it's general and then have the case thrown out. So it's going to be a tough road for Fear the Walking Dead, they're going to be doing things. It's not going to affect them in any way, but it's just going to kind of kick the teeth of like some of the money people along the way. So, I don't know what effect this is going to have, because Mel is actually suing both AMC's Fear the Walking Dead and David Alpert they're like co-defendants basically. So if there's any news, I'll keep you guys updated. Interesting thing. So I have to give you a disclaimer on this one. This is news in 2019, okay? The state of news in 2019. The news is based on a single emoji. It's the thinking emoji, okay? Now, Tom Payne wants, this is the headline. Looks like Walking Dead's Tom Payne wants in on the Suicide Squad. So basically James Gunn is actually relaunching the Suicide Squad. And all that Tom Payne did was, in response to that article, he retweeted the thinking emoji, and they based a whole entire article based on that one thing. Now, granted, cool, but really? Like a whole article on it? Like 3 paragraphs. Actually, no, this was like you had to page down like 3 times to actually read the whole article. And I just thought it was just amazing that literally, and you didn't see it until you get to the third page, maybe 2.5, third part of the page, and you finally see what the source of this article completely is, that this guy's basing it off of, and it's just like a single emoji. And I'm like, really? But Tom Payne is looking for work, and I think he's a really good actor. If you missed that spot that he did for Kraken Rum, it shows a little bit of range, being Jesus, being this dramatic, sexy pirate. Literally that emoji. So he would be pretty cool for Suicide Squad. I'm sure he's gonna have to shave. So, what do you guys think about that? Tom Payne in it. Well, by the way, it's a relaunched Suicide Squad. By the way, that based on James Gunn's. James Gunn is actually going to be on the helm for that. He's going to be doing creative. He's running the show. So, and did you watch the original Suicide Squad movie? I didn't. I'm actually really curious to see what you guys think. In the meantime, I don't even know why I'm reading this, but The Walking Dead Season 9 spoilers. Judith Grimes' future revealed. Again, this is like a news in 2019 article, okay? They took some quotes from Eleanor Metzera, who was asked whether Judith could be a future leader on the show. She basically says, this is my personal preference. So she doesn't like say outright. But she said, this is what I want. This is what I think should happen. And she goes, Judith could easily be a leader further down the line. She's already showing more leadership skills than a lot of the adults. She's amazing. And she goes on to kind of praise Little Miss Fleming, for her acumen, her acting capabilities. Like she's like not only a good leader as a character, but she's kind of really a good leader as an actor. And she's just kind of over the moon for her. I mean, I read another article too, by the way, where Eleanor Metzera was kind of like all about the Nadia Hilker and her being still in a relationship. Like the relationship aspect of Magna and Yumiko in the comics, it should be present on screen. Like there's no discrepancy there. But I guess maybe it has to be said because in the comic book, Kelly and Connie are actually like husband and wife. So, maybe people were a little confused whether or not they were going to go into the Yumiko Magna relationship, but they did. So, all right, exactly. So, that's really it for me. Now, I kind of wanted to throw it to you guys because the whole reason why we're here is because we need like a little bit of like excitement before the mid-season premiere. And I was wondering, like, since I have like the two of you guys can be my little co-hosts, my virtual co-hosts. I mean, you're little, like your icons are little on my screen. But I'm just thinking like, is there anything are there any questions that you have that you want me to address to actually like kind of break down what my thoughts are? Like, I mean, I kind of want to ask, whether or not there is so many questions that I have personally. Okay, so like there are some things like a lot of people were saying like, oh, I want Magna to be with Daryl, and I'm like, well, it's gonna be a little difficult because Magna and Yumiko are a thing. And I did actually bring up, and I'll bring this up again, even though I mentioned it, and it is a question on the trivia this week. So if you're stuck with this question, here is the answer. We basically break down what our predictions are going to be about whose heads are going to be on pikes by the end of the season. We predict that it's going to be the following people. It's going to be Tara, Luke, Alden. We got Jerry, Ezekiel. You've got the two Hilltop kids, and I think we did and Henry. Oh no. I am like losing it. We could do this again though. Hold on. Okay, we got the two Hilltop kids. We got Henry. We got Jerry. We got Tara. We got Alden and Luke. Oh man, I can't think. It's all there on black and white. In either 40 or 39. I think it's episode 40. We go into it and actually kind of spell it out. And the clip is actually in the entry. So if you're ever lost, you can actually click on the clip on YouTube. It pops up. We kind of talk about it, and then we end up going through the whole thing. What are you guys most looking forward to in this season? Like if you had to pick one thing, what do you think? Yeah, so that's a really good question. So, okay, Alpha in this S10 trailer, yeah, that for the season 10, like confirming season 10, that was pretty creepy. I have to admit, just the whole whispering part and it just travels up your spine. Yeah, so Michelle, regarding the Whisperer's outcome, by the way, I kicked you guys off of Instagram. I'm sorry. I didn't even know how long it was going on. But yeah, so as far as okay, so the Whisperers is not going to be resolved by the end of this season, just so you guys know. The Whisperers is going to keep going into season 10 for sure. Now there is going to be a little bit of backstory. So the one thing to remember, do you remember season 8 when they were talking about Negan and like, oh, I really want Negan's backstory. Oh, I really, really want Negan's backstory. But the problem with The Walking Dead is that they'll touch on like backstory. Sometimes they'll touch on backstory, but you're never going to really know exactly who these people were pre-apocalypse. Like they'll do that to an extent, but not further, because the whole point of The Walking Dead is that, and this shows like time and time again, The Walking Dead is all about who you are now. You know, like it doesn't matter what you were, but what you are now. So, I mean, whatever backstory you're going to hope for in terms of Alpha, Beta, Lydia, you're going to get maybe flashbacks to like recent history, like how they have to toughen up. I mean, and even that's going to be kind of sketchy. And I think, Angela Kang had mentioned that we are going to see, I think, a Whisperer's backstory, not in episode 9, but maybe episode 10. So yeah, it's going to be that quick. But here's the thing. Just to kind of keep your head on straight, this ain't over. I mean, we're predicting this, and it can't be that this is not going to happen. Season 9 is going to end with heads on pikes, which means that this is a story that is not over yet. I mean, it would be kind of like a shame where it's like almost the equivalent of, is this going to be like the Terminus situation where, okay, we spend all season getting to Terminus, and then all of a sudden, it's done in 2 episodes. Or it's done even like in the last 8. I don't think it's going to be that easy. And you got to like, you have to establish enough episodes to kind of make it seem like these guys are formidable, because they are formidable. So, yeah. And okay, so you're saying, so I in the Dark 2, you're saying Alpha, right? Like Alpha's backstory? I don't see... Fear the Walking Dead goes into backstory, okay? I mean, Fear the Walking Dead is kind of premised predicated on backstory. Like, they give you more than enough than what The Walking Dead does. It's just the nature of the 2 shows. The Walking Dead rarely goes into backstory. So, yeah, so Nissa, specifically good. So Nissa, specifically to your question about Alpha keeping her head in the comics longer, that's definitely going to happen. Now, the question you should be asking, because this is very interesting, the question is Beta going to keep not his head, but is Beta going to be alive longer in the show than in the comics? Because Beta is kind of over, this is what Carol told me, but she said Beta is kind of relatively over midway into, like the beginning of the Whisperers and the end of the Whisperers, but it seems kind of sudden. Like if they keep Beta around for a little longer, so Ryan Hurst, that would be interesting to me. Like holding on to Beta until like nearly the end, or maybe the end of the season. The question really is Beta going to be alive until the end of this season? Or will he die somewhere between episodes 16 and 15, or like 14? So that's the real question. Alpha's definitely going to be around for season 10. So this is going to be very interesting. It's going to be formidable. She's going to be a tough one to kill. And then also you kind of have to consider the fact that, you just answered my question, I in the Dark too. Negan and Alpha. In the comic, there is some sort of weird... Okay, one thing to remember, Negan in the comic and Negan on the show, they're almost practically 2 different people. But yeah, there in the comic, at least there's some flirtation. There's like, Negan's all like Negan, and Alpha's just kind of like standoffish, but recognizes his strength too. So they're kind of like an interesting mix. I think there is going to be some kind of repertoire. I just don't know how it's going to express itself in the show, because Negan on the show, even though he's still Negan-ish, he's not as Negan as in the comics. There's still kind of that like little repertoire between him and Gabriel. He shows signs of emotions and stuff like that. Like even though, I mean, you see the dialogue between him and Judith and everything. So you do notice the fact that that there is a significant amount of humanity that he has. So if he flips back and forth between that Negan and like comic book Negan, I think it's going to be too jarring. So that is a really good question. Like the emotional quotient, are they going to change Alpha to be a little less like, not wooden, but a little less like brutal as in the comics? Like, is there going to be some sort of emotional vein that goes through that character that's going to make her more believable, and it's going to leave enough emotional room for this the AMC television show expression to kind of weave in? So that's going to be really, really interesting to me. So those 2 questions, Negan, and the other question is that going to happen within the final 8 episodes too. So these are good questions. So there's the beta question and there's the Negan alpha question, you know, and these are good questions. Like, we're gonna have them as characters, as villains all the way. I would even say, like, I'd be surprised if they managed to stick around until mid-season 10, but it could be. But I would be really shocked if they ended the Whisperers arc at the end of season 10, because that would be like all-out war, traumatizing all over again. Like, do you really want to see like a season and a half? I mean, all-out war is longer, but do you really want to see like almost 2 seasons of just this torture porn? No. You guys have really, really good questions. Okay. Yeah. So do you think Daryl will go undercover? Well, okay. There's a little bit of evidence that we've seen so far is that, okay, you see the fight between Daryl and Beta. Now, this could be way later on, and who knows what the end of that fight is, right? You've got also his interactions with Lydia, too. I don't think there's going to be an undercover to be had because he does meet Alpha at the gates. So I don't really know how that's going to shake loose. Yeah, and the other question is going to be like, does Daryl have some sort of intimacy with Alpha? And I mean, I don't think so. Mostly because of the comic books. And I see Mrs. reaction also is like, she says basically, I hope not. I hope she's interested in Negan, so they may become an item. No feelings involved, just something she sees some of her in him or likes his strength. And yeah, and I agree with that. I think there's going to be something there. But yeah, I mean, just like I said before, just the way it expresses itself is going to I think that's going to be difficult to sell. I think they'll do it. I believe in them, but we have expectations because of the comic book. And I think it's a good idea to drop some of those expectations at the door because yeah, you're going to see a lot of that, but I really do think it's going to be a difficult sell. But yeah, but Daryl's a wild card. Okay, because a lot of the things that we were thinking that would happen between, okay, Carl and this weird love triangle between, let's say, Carl and Lydia, and then also apparently, and I found this out on episode 40, that Sophia was still alive. So there's like this like love triangle between those three. You replace Sophia with Addie, who Henry and Addie had this kind of little chemistry, and then possibly Lydia and Henry, right? Yeah, and that's the thing. We still predict Henry's head is going to be on a pike. Like, even though there's going to be some role mixing. So Henry may take some of those roles from Carl, but so will Daryl, I think, too, right? So now, keep in mind, this is the poll I want to actually create. What is your opinion of Henry, and are you sad about him possibly having his head on a pike? We're predicting it, but yeah, we could be wrong. But what do you guys think about that? I'll wait. I think, so Michelle, you said you saw a picture of Daryl with an arrow with him and his dog. I think you saw Lib's art, by the way. Lib had a really, really cool picture. So it's like Lib underscore on Instagram. That's just art. It's something she conceptualized. I hope this is what I'm referring to, because the only other arrow in him I think was like season 1. I think so. I don't remember. But did you see this in like a video or like a still image? So look, we have a split audience on Henry, by the way. So we've got Nissa saying, I mean, Henry's okay, but I kind of want him to die. He's all right, but he can go. We've got Eye in the Dark 2, who I'm with on this one, is that, oh my God, oh my word, I'll quote you exactly. I don't want Henry to die, in caps. Walani says, don't want Henry's head on a pike, but wouldn't be a major upset if that happened. That's probably closer to where I am. I'll be okay. Now, one of our predictions is Jerry, by the way. We're predicting that Jerry's head's going to be on a pike. Now, I kind of want to poll you guys to find out what you think about that as well, because I think almost everybody loves Jerry. Now, how will you feel if we're right about that? You know, if Jerry's head is on a pike. Yeah, I know Ezekiel is going to be on a pike. But I just love that you used Ezekiel, because I keep using it too. I use it with the hashtag, because if you use the hashtag, it has power and it stays alive. Yeah, I see the reactions now about Jerry. Yeah, and Jerry would hit me hard too. You know what? I'm not saying I would be okay with it, but like, I'm already kind of just developing the iron stomach to take it, because it's just kind of like, do you remember that scene where where Jerry saved Ezekiel right near the factory where Melissa McBride was in, and he splits the dude in two. That scene was everything you needed to know. Like, if you didn't already love Jerry, the fact that he stepped the F up and saved Ezekiel's life, that in that one scene just solidifies your love for him, right? So just to see him go out like that is just heartbreaking. I mean, at least, okay, this is going to sound really bad, but like at least he's going out with Ezekiel, you know? So like the night, you know, the captain goes down with his ship is Jerry. I don't know. But either way, they're going down together this time. Like instead of surviving together from that one incident, they're going down together. So yeah, it sucks. Like we're getting to progressively suckier things. Like the one thing I actually do want to ask is that, do you guys see a world in which, I'll ask these two people, like, do you see a world in which Daryl might die or Carol might die? Because one thing to note is that Carol dies in the comic way earlier and she's a completely different person. And Daryl doesn't exist in the comics. But I'm actually wondering what you guys think about that. Like, on the one hand, there's the emotional aspect. Like, I don't want him to die. I don't want her to die. These are like the most like beloved characters in the comic, in the show. But then there's also like, does it make sense to kill Daryl? Does it make sense to kill Carol, right? Is there a world in which it makes sense, right? And that Daryl, not really. I think actually it doesn't make sense to get rid of him. I think there were some points at which we thought he might go, but Carol, that's an iffy one, because if it's not Ezekiel's head on the pike, which is practically impossible, but maybe, what if Carol ends up on the pike? I don't want it to happen. I'm just saying, what if, right? I know. Yeah. So we're expecting Jerry. Yeah, exactly. Ezekiel's fate is in the comics, so we're all prepared. Yeah. I think I'm finally getting reactions to Daryl or Carol, and I in the Dark 2 is not happy with my proposal. I like Nissa. I like your answer. Carol, maybe, but I hope not. Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, honestly, out of every character, like, let's put Rick aside. Let's put, like, even Negan aside. Oh, not even, whatever. But like, out of all of them, like Carol and Daryl, I mean, I'm not a huge Daryl booster. Okay. Like, I see the value in him as a character. Like, it's an odd thing, but I do see the value, because you can like channel any excess in the show and just channel it through Daryl and make that happen. You know, like he's like the loose ends kind of fixer, you know? And then also like, it looks like he's getting more like, you know, he's taking more charge. He's finding his way. He's coming into his own, right? Carol, though, it's kind of the same thing. Like, she's kind of like a blank slate, you know, considering the fact that, you know, she's not in the comic. So every bit of her that makes you love her is basically the show, the creative work that's gone on in the show. So yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, a lot of people predicting that Ezekiel dies. Well, Sophia dies, you know, at the farm, and she's supposed to live on until even now. So it's kind of interesting, right? But you know what I'll do, guys? I think maybe we'll leave it there, because look, we can talk all night, you and me, right? But, you know, I'm going to try to keep this a little shorter. The audio version of this podcast is going to be a lot more concise. It's going to be under an hour. There's going to be a lot of edits, and you'll actually have that first 15, 20 minutes if you were on YouTube or Facebook. On top of that, yeah, I'll include the links to some of the charities. I'll include the links to the articles that I discussed too. We've got plenty more content this week to kind of go through. I'm going to create the video for the giveaway for Friday. Is that tomorrow? Is that tomorrow? It is tomorrow, isn't it? I don't know what day it is. We got the video for Friday, the ad for Friday that's going to be for this week's giveaway. We've got the giveaway itself. That's going to end Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. So Michelle, for you, that's going to end at 8 p.m. And just to remind you, the prize this week is the ability to get a shout out from 2 cast members. So if you're interested, head to squawkingdead.com, fill out your entries. You've got all these different choices, trivia and rating. I mean, I'd appreciate a rating of the podcast. It actually really, really helps us gain some sort of visibility and traction. If you look for Squawking Dead on any podcast medium, the odds are like 50-50. It shows us as the top spot, because the other Squawking Dead reference is like this gerbil hamstery looking thing, which I don't even know. Okay, I tried playing it and then I just said no, thank you. Guys, it's been really great. I think I'm gonna leave it there, and God, we have Sunday night. If you haven't been spoiled too much, get excited. Light some candles. You know, burn some incense. Talk to your ex-boyfriend or girlfriend and yell sweet sweet nothings and yell sweet nothings into their ear. I don't know. What am I talking about? Just take it easy, everybody. And it's game time soon. So with that, I'm going to call it a night. See you later, guys. Peace. Walking Dead, Sunday night. And then Talking Dead after Ride with Norman Reedus. What a day.